Welcome to another 88K model railroad video. And this video is a continuation of our Wiki Demo Plan build. Now, a few months ago, I put out the part one, but I had to do a build. It was a layout build for an HO scale layout. It was 30 by 20 some feet, and it took a month or so for me to do. So I was tied up with that, and now I finally got that finished up, and now I want to catch up on my videos here. So now I want to finish up, but before I do that, let me recap on the part one. And remember, we went through, we spec'd out the layout. We had an idea of what we wanted. Then we went into the CAD program, and within the CAD program, we set up the CV1 and CV2 track pack. And with that, we found out it wasn't wide enough in order for us to incorporate the 4 stations that we had. So we extended it, and once we extended it, we got all the dimensions down, and we put it on a mock-up on a piece of foam to kind of get an idea of what it looked like. Then I think we placed in a little soda can within the 3D rendering, so you could get an idea or a feel of what the model looks like size-wise. So now what we're going to do is go through the physical build itself. We're going to go into any rail. We're going to put all the track pieces together. We're going to know and identify all of those pieces so we can order them. Then from there, we're going to transfer the plan onto the foam itself, and then we're going to do something that I normally do with the Kato's Unitrack, is to embed it into the foam, and we're going to go through and do that process. And then with that, we'll be able to finish up the physical aspect of the layout, the foam, and have it placed on the board, and then we can go into the sensors and then the wiring. So let's get started. Let's talk about choosing the base first. I use or like to use the Owens Corning Foamular, or the pink foam. It comes in 2 forms, the 150 and the 250. That pretty much represents 15 and 25 psi, which dictates how the strength of the foam itself, so how much pressure. So if you were to take your finger and push into the foam, that 15 psi versus the 25 psi is what it's gauging. And I like it because it's lightweight. It's it's called a closed cell foam, so it's really dense. It comes in 4 by 8 sheets, and you can get it a 1/2 inch thick, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2 inch. Then you can also find them in 2 by 2 squares, and they're like a 1/2 inch thick as well. It's easy to form, and you can replace the plywood with it if you place it on a grid where it can support it. And the grid can be fairly apart. The distance of the grid can be like 16 inches or 20 inches apart, and the foam will hold up, especially for what we need on the layout itself. Then you can use a hot cutter to cut it, or a table saw, and the hot glue, believe it or not, will help in the adhesion. A lot of times the guys want to use the liquid nails and whatnot, but the hot glue can work just as well. Then the final thing is the elevation that you can get with the pink foam. So unlike with the plywood, you cannot go below the track level, but with the foam you can actually hone out the foam, and you can create or use the foam to create a mountain, and then also go in and create the divots or the valley. And the good thing about it is you can have that different terrain, or the height and elevation of the terrain, but your track will stay at the same grade, and it gives a really good look. Then the final thing is the trenching of the track, and that's what I use this pink foam and the Unitrack together. One of the problems with the Unitrack is its ballast has the track to sit above the plane, and it can get kind of a funny look, especially if you're trying to create a more realistic layout. Um, and what I end up doing is trenching out the foam and then placing the track inside the foam. And I trench it out the depth of the ballast of the Unitrack. So then the rails will sit just above the plane of the ground level. So you'll be able to see that. We'll go through that process. So next, let's talk about the AnyRail and the software aspect of the build. Let's talk about AnyRail real quick. I chose to use AnyRail because of its ease of use. You can go from a small design to a full layout or full room layout where you can put down your plants, trees, roads, buildings, and afterwards the graphical rendering looks really nice. And then also its GUI interface is somewhat like the Microsoft ribbon, so it's easy to kind of read and use. Then you're able to put down a grid to match your floor plan. So, and what I mean by the grid is you can set up one by one, 1 foot by 1 foot square, and you can map out if it's 10 feet by 15 feet or whatever the room size, and then you can put the track layout on top of it so it's all 1 for 1. So you can set it up if you want 2 by 2 foot grids or whatever. So that makes it really easy to build. So once your layout's complete, then you want to export it out into a format that you could either print or you can manipulate, like for example into Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator. So that one-to-one export ability makes it really easy for you to convert the plan into a real printout. So enough with AnyRail, so let's get on with the build itself.